Hello and welcome to Drive-In Double Feature Podcast. I'm Nathan,
I'm Ryan.
and this is the podcast where we talk about 2 movies a week every Tuesday and Thursday. But before we get into this week's episode, head on over to our Patreon. Just for $5 a month, you help support us, and I'm holding ransom for Ryan. So if you want Ryan to go free, everybody who listens to this must pay $5 into that. And I'm just saying, if you don't, well, something bad might happen to Ryan. Okay.
Nathan, I could just give you $5 if that's.
Oh, really? And I don't have to hold you ransom?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. Sounds good. All right. Well, Ryan's free now, but if you do want some fun bonus content, you can head over to our Patreon and help support the channel. But let's get into this week's movies. This Tuesday, we're returning to a Duke Mitchell movie. That's right.
Thank God.
We did every Duke Mitchell directed movie. Can you believe we made it here, Ryan?
Well, let's go over like the retrospective.
Yeah, so it all started with why am I even forgetting? Mafia Massacre. There's like 5 names for that movie.
Massacre Mafia Style.
Oh God, the Executioner. Let's go with that one. And now we made it to Gone with the Pope. Even though technically Gone with the Pope was a long lost movie, so it was filmed in 1976 and kind of cobbled together over time. Duke Mitchell would pass away. Let me get the exact year really quickly. Yeah, he would pass away in 1981. And this movie would sit in his garage for the next, how long is that? 30 years. Until 2009 when it was found. I couldn't imagine digging through this garage that's just had like this crap sitting in it for that long.
It was like hidden underneath like the vinyl for the Rigatoni song.
Yeah, Rigatoni, that's it. And then just some weird movie. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, this movie did get a release in 2010. So it's kind of like an interesting lost relic of a movie.
Nathan, I thought we were supposed to be covering old movies on this podcast. What are we doing
Okay.
covering this new modern garbage?
Okay, this is coming from the guy who picked the movie about the talking alligator from the 2020s.
That was meant to be a joke choice.
Oh, okay, all right. Then this was a joke choice. It was a joke.
That's a pretty good joke.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, joke's on you. You had to watch
Yeah.
Gone with the Pope.
Yeah, big joke.
Yeah, but no, I was interested in this movie just because of that, because of its status. And now that we've seen another Duke Mitchell movie, I think it's really interesting because I guess going back to last week, we kind of talked about how that movie was kind of inept on a lot of levels, but was fun because of it, right? Like it was kind of weirdly put together. There's no good actors. And it's funny because I watched this and was like, wow, Duke Mitchell has a style. Not being a great director, which is really funny because the plot does the same thing in this one. Meanders, kind of goes like 5 different directions. No one can act. It's interesting. I will say this one is not as fun as the last movie.
No, significantly less fun for me.
So I think the concept here is interesting, but the way this movie is put together makes it so it's not interesting. And I think there's a reason this one was probably buried for so long because it was hard to get a good movie out of this. There's three editors that they got in to edit this movie to the current state that it's in now. I mean, like even just from the top of the movie, the very beginning of the movie is just like a conversation between the mafia about.
First you got to think it's Duke Mitchell describing what God did in the first week. And the 6th day, God created 2 orbs. The big one was the sun, and the small one was the moon.
And it's really long too. It goes on forever for the opening title sequence. I think they made because like, did you notice that like there's long sections of that are just a black screen, and I think they padded out the opening credits so they could have this whole dialogue fit in here.
Was this dialogue part of the movie, or was
I don't know?
Like they found like an audio recording of Duke Mitchell like monologuing, like, you know what? Let's throw it in there.
Exactly. I think so. Like it fits thematically, I guess, because they do kidnap the Pope later in the movie. Spoilers for everybody. But yeah, you have this long dialogue, and then Duke Mitchell, he gets out of prison. So he's in prison and he loves everyone in the prison, and he takes care of them like their family. And I think it's so funny. All the shots in the prison are blurry. Every shot is out
Yeah,
of focus. It's not a stylistic choice. At least I'm pretty sure it's not, because there's long conversations just blurry and you can't see them.
I like it because they're going over, they're talking about Duke Mitchell's character, and they're like, he's such a good guy. We call him the Good Samaritan. You know, like he never would harm a fly. You know,
Mhm.
he cares more about his people. And I'm like, well, why is he in jail then? Like,
As we've come to find out, that is not very true. He'll do anything for a buck.
yeah,
I like to think this is a continuation of the last movie.
it might as well be, honestly. I mean,
Yeah,
it's pretty much like the same setting. I don't think his character is all that different.
it's really not. It's going for like the same thing. And once again, this movie is inspired by The Godfather. But this one it's
Never seen it.
never. It's not very good. But but the mafia, they're a part of this movie. I wouldn't say they quite play as big of a role in this movie. This is almost like a prison hangout road trip movie in a way, except they're on a boat
Sorta.
for like most of the movie. Because what it is he gets out and he's forced to kill 3 people in Las Vegas and 4 people in LA, and he hires a buddy to kill them in Las Vegas at the same time as he kills people in LA. So it trips up the mafia. They're like, huh, how did he kill all these people at the same time? But this sounds like an interesting movie, but it's barely any of the movie. Like, I thought that was a cool idea. Like, oh, it's like a road trip and he has to assassinate people in American cities, but it's goes by quick. It does have a
It's
real.
not,
Oh, go ahead.
no, I was gonna say it doesn't last very long though.
No, much
It's
like this movie, a plot point happens and it almost means nothing to the rest of the movie.
mm-hmm.
Um, and it does have that one cool shot of him shooting the guy, and then he has the bullet casings in his hand, and he slow mo throws them out. I'm pretty sure that's just the editor doing that. Not, I don't think that was meant to be in the movie because that's more stylish than anything else.
Like Duke Mitchell is just like, hey, I got this great idea for slow mo, and it's just and
That
then
doesn't
like
sound right.
the Wachowskis like see it and they're like, oh, let's put it in our movie.
Yeah, exactly. Take that. Take that. He hasn't released it. Let's steal it. Um, but that oh, we didn't talk about him going home to meet his wife. Once again, inconsequential, but such a bad actress. Like, oh my god, that was a horrible
that
performance.
that was so bad. I mean, I will say it because I was so expecting him to do what he did before, where it was like, let me just get like this like girl like in her young 20s and she'll be like my wife or whatever. But
Hmm.
they do get like a woman that's
Of his
not
age, yeah.
of his age, yeah. And I mean, there's nothing wrong. I mean, like her performance is not great, but it's this really long dialogue scene where she's talking about like I've always wanted to be with you. Yeah, I was married to another guy, but I was thinking of you the whole time.
Yeah.
And
Oh, he gave me stability, but you were just a rebel or something like that.
yeah, like basically saying like her husband was like the rebound and
Uh-huh.
like he was the real guy that, that he was in. But like, and she goes on and says like, look, I am super rich. Like you're never gonna have to work again.
Hmm.
You don't even worry about it. Like you'll never have to go to jail again because I have so much money that it's going to solve all of our problems.
Yeah.
But he doesn't like that.
No, that's too good for him. That's too good
Yeah.
for him.
The
So
whole there wouldn't be a movie if he just said yes.
a romance movie with Duke Mitchell just going with this lady that loves him and then just living a good life. No.
I'd rather watch that.
Yeah, yeah. I see. That's what sucks. It has such a fun idea, and it gets squandered because him and his gang of prison friends, they'd go all the way out to see the Pope, and the goal is to kidnap the Pope and hold him ransom for 50 cents for every Catholic out there. I think that's silly. Like that's a silly idea, but they don't do anything with it.
No, and it's like they're trying to go for this like theme that religious people are spouting out like charity and
Hmm.
taking care of others, because he goes on this long speech to the Pope. He's like, "You sit on your golden throne, but there are young children in the streets. They have no
Hmm.
money, they have no food, but you live in a big castle."
It gives the Pope, because the Pope is on the yacht and everybody's talking to the Pope, telling them their issues, and the Pope's like, "Hey, Duke, you haven't been talking to me. Why is that? Why aren't you talking to me, the Pope?" And of course he has to give out his agenda, and that's exactly how the Pope sounds in the movie, by the way. Just like me.
Yeah, he does sound like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, thank you. The good impression. uh, but there's one funny bit that I really like, is the part where the guy who loses his like golden chain in the water that was given to him
Oh
by his
God,
mom.
yeah.
And like it has a whole shot of the chain going down like a drainage pipe and into the water. And he catches the fish later in the movie, and the gold chain is inside of a fish.
Yeah,
And,
well, like, because like the whole time the Pope is like, "I want to eat a fish." And he's
mhm,
like, "Oh, Mr. Pope, I'll go out and catch you a fish." He said, "May not
mhm,
find anything," but he's like, "Oh my God, it's a miracle. We found a fish." And then like they cut it
mhm.
open. It's like, "Oh my God, it's my mother's necklace. It was inside this fish."
So of course it's divine intervention.
And then like
Yeah.
even like the Pope like does like the like he like looks up like when
Even
he's
the
looking at
I'm a believer now.
yeah.
But yeah, which I think that's a funny bit. It should have like really went into like the sillier angle of this whole thing, because we're bringing up the silly bits, but it's really not that funny when you're actually in the movie watching it.
No, it drags so much for me,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh yeah, I had such a good time watching Massacre
Mhm.
Mafia Style. Like I'm sure this will be along the lines. And I mean, like I don't know how fair it is to really judge it since this technically wasn't finished.
Yeah, it was unreleasable from the director himself, right? Like this is like way later somebody else takes his movie and makes something with it. Like,
So like, yeah,
is it even his movie anymore? In a way, that's the question.
right. So it's like it's kind of hard for me to like give like a fair assessment of it because I'm like, this is
Mhm.
not really what I think the director may have wanted or
Mhm.
or anything like that. But as it is now, it's a pretty big mess.
Yeah, it is messy. It uses a lot of music montage. I'm sure you noticed that there's a lot of scenes where just like people are driving or walking around to music. And I think once again, that's obviously the editors coming in and trying to like, okay, we just got this random scene to make it move forward. Let's just put some music over it.
And
Um,
there's some really dumb like one part where I like really hated, which it's kind of played for laughs.
mhm.
Like the scene where there's a very large woman
Oh, that's right.
and they like bring him in like because like Duke brings him into like his friend and they're like basically like, "Hey, I brought you a present or whatever," and
Yeah.
it's
Hmm.
it's this big heavy set woman that he picked up on the street, like to literally just say, "Hey, you want to come upstairs and have sex with me and my friend," type of thing, uh, and she's game, but anyway, she gets completely naked, like
Mhm.
just because,
Yep.
and
They got to put a
and
naked lady in the movie.
and like she falls over on his friend and he's like doing like the big comedic like open mouth like, "Oh no," like a tree's falling on him and like
Yeah, and it's all
eh,
done in like fast motion too, right? Like they sped up the frames per second, so it's like a silent comedy kind of.
yeah, and it's like they're ripping off her clothes
Hmm.
and then they steal her clothes and then she gets all like like mad at him and like
Yeah, that scene was bizarre and like was really long. Like what you explained is like a really, really long scene for some reason.
I was I I was so close to texting you like while I was watching that scene. I was like, I'm almost like done with this movie. Like,
That's
like
so funny. See, like, here we go. We're just picking the worst of the worst recently.
yeah, like
um,
yeah,
which is so
I
funny.
yeah, it's I no mis yeah, make no mistake, I did not like this movie at
Yeah.
all. So
So I think I liked it a little better than you. Not that I
yeah,
liked it by any means.
you
I do
loved
think
it.
I I loved it. One of the greatest of all time. No, no, it's a pretty rough movie. I do think it's good for a couple laughs. There's some things to take out of it, but well, like you said, like there's just so much that doesn't work or feels like it makes sense. Like I can imagine Duke Mitchell didn't release it because he thought, oh, this is unreleasable. I don't want to
Yeah, it's
put
like
this out.
it's almost like he knew it wasn't going to be good.
Yeah, because like everything I've read about this movie's release, because it was like a big deal that it was finally getting released. It was like, oh, because of his untimely death, this movie never came out, and this movie was made 6 years before he died. So I mean,
Yeah,
like, how much can you attribute like his untimely death to
it's
this?
it sounds like he didn't really want to work on it.
Yeah, exactly. Um, but I mean, I guess it is what it is.
He was too busy dancing to the rigatoni song.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, you know what? I can't believe it wasn't in this one. The music just isn't as good in this one.
I would have loved if they had like another like guy just come in and just start singing like in a completely unrelated scene. That
That
would have
would
been
be
great.
funny on the yacht or something.
Yeah.
Because yeah, it is a yacht hangout movie with the Pope. I actually kind of liked the Pope. I thought that whole bit was kind of funny.
I like the bits with the Pope and they're hanging out on the boat. Like I
Yeah,
do like that. Like that's because it's silly because it's like they're these hardened criminals, but after
mhm,
talking with the Pope, they're like, hey, go easy on the Pope, okay? Like he's a good guy, like and
yeah.
then Duke starts getting all frustrated. Adam's like, what happened to you guys? Like you guys used to be us, and you turned them all against me. Like
Yeah, and that's supposed to be like the big emotional scene. Yeah, Duke Mitchell has an emotional scene in this movie. That scene where his gang members are like, "God, we should let the Pope go. We should just like wrap it up. He's not gonna put us any of us in jail." And Duke Mitchell's screaming like, "What are you guys doing? You're ruining me!" Yelling. I think he cries a little too. It's not very good. That does happen. The Pope, they actually end up letting the Pope go, because the Pope, it's just like, hey, you know what, let's do this. Let's go back. I'm going to protect you. Even two of them go under his flock. And this is the problem, Ryan. So this shows you that it's not a really great movie because I've been sitting here this whole time trying to piece together what the hell happened after that. Ryan, do you
I
remember what the hell happened after
I
this?
remember there was like him in a church
Oh, that's
running
right.
like,
That's right.
and there's a burning cross, but
Uh-huh.
I swear to God, like that whole like last 15-20 minutes is like a complete blur. Like
Yeah.
I
Okay, so I'm
barely
not alone here.
I barely remember like what I like if you ask me right now like what happened to me in the movie, other than what I just said, I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, and I mean, like, obviously no one else cares because if you go to the plot section on Wikipedia, it has, let's see. Oh, it's one sentence. It is one sentence plot of this movie. So obviously everyone else is like, okay, well, the plot of the movie is they kidnap the Pope and they go for a ransom. When there's actually like a lot more that happens out of there, a lot more of nothing that happens outside of that. But um
Well, it's obvious like that's where like you said, like that's where like the unfinished product comes in. It's like clearly they didn't have a very cohesive ending that's like, okay, we got these random scenes
mhm.
right here. Like, how can we form this into like a narrative climax?
Which is like is tough to do, especially for someone. If I mean, just thinking about his last movie, that movie was already, it felt a little cobbled together. Like things work together, but the plot went a lot of different directions, and that's probably hard for someone else to fit together. Um, so that's what this becomes. But yeah, I mean, that's right. That is the end of the movie. He goes to the church, the Jesus on the wall, his eyes glow red, and he screams and runs away. And I don't know what I'm supposed to get out of that. What the
I
lesson?
don't. I guess
Don't
he.
kidnap the Pope.
Yeah, I'd say that's a pretty good lesson. That's probably the biggest takeaway from this.
That is the biggest takeaway. I agree.
I mean, I was thinking about it, but after this movie, I'm like, maybe
hmm
I will reconsider.
Well, I'm glad you reconsidered because if you did that, we probably wouldn't have a podcast.
No, I did
Or
not do that.
or do they allow a podcast through prison?
Can we do that? Like, I'll you'll be like my one phone call a week, and I'm just like,
No, no, I don't want to talk to my mom. I don't want to talk to my dad. I want to talk to my podcast co-host. And you're just talking about whatever movie you watched on prison TV.
yeah,
Uh-huh. Yeah.
that'd be pretty good.
You know what? That actually sounds like a fun podcast. Ryan, why don't you get to work on that?
All right, let me just go outside and start committing some crimes.
Yeah, jaywalk or something. Yeah. But anyway, I really don't have a lot to say about this movie, unfortunately. It is honestly a lot of nothing, and it's surprising. We've pulled a lot more out of movies that we were like, I'm scared to pull things out. Like, oh, I don't know if we have enough time to talk about, right? We've done it. This one, I'm sitting here and I'm like, God, maybe really not much happened in this movie. Maybe it is kind of just a mess of a movie.
It's very. I mean, like, I don't recommend it at all. That's one thing, and
Yes, yeah.
and two, it's not a finished movie, and that's like
Mhm.
clearly there was something that was supposed to be there, and it seems like Duke Mitchell had like the good sense to be like, you know what, like I try this ain't it. Like let me
Yeah.
just and nobody needs to see this, and then somebody's like, I'm a huge Duke Mitchell fan. Why can't all of his movies be out? I want all of them out.
Exactly.
Said
And
Quentin Tarantino.
I'm sure he's a fan.
Oh,
God.
I'm sure he'd be like, yeah, this movie's great. You do not understand. Like,
Yeah, that sounds about right. He's like, you don't understand how it influenced blah 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 movie or whatever.
this movie came out before The Godfather. This came out before our Goodfellas. Like this,
Yeah, exactly.
Marty Scorsese loved this movie.
Without even knowing, without even knowing if Marty loved this movie. Now that's what I want. That's the reaction I want to hear. I want to hear Marty respond. Like, what does he think of this movie?
He probably likes it.
I'm
Yeah.
sure he does. I know he's seen it. He doesn't he have like the world's largest DVD collection or something.
Does he?
He has like a giant DVD collection.
I don't know. I need to check out his daughter's TikTok. Maybe it's on there.
I'm sure it is, yeah, which is his granddaughters, right?
No, that's his daughter.
That's ooh,
Yeah,
ooh,
you didn't realize that that's his
ooh.
daughter.
Yikes, I didn't realize that. That is yeah. What is he? Just like his actor that's in all of his movies?
What, Robert De
Robert De
Niro
Niro. Well, I guess Al Pacino as
and Al
well.
Pacino.
Oh God, they're all dirty old men. Yeah, I'm saying it right here on the podcast. Great actors though, and director. So it
Damn.
makes up for any problems. Um, yeah.
Yeah, you know, they're
But
all great people.
yeah, but
Salt of
anyway,
the earth.
yeah, exactly. But no, I don't think either of us recommend it. I don't think this one's really worth. I don't think this one's out really worth seeking out. I
It
think
should
it's.
have stayed lost.
I don't.
That's what I
No,
think. That's what I
no.
think. Stay lost. It should be in Duke Mitchell's garage
I
right now.
I guess it's weird. Like, should it have? Like, what was his wishes? Do you think he would want this movie released? It's just like Jerry Lewis with
I
his
was just thinking
movie.
that, yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
like he's like, no, nobody can see this movie, and then they're gonna show people the movie.
well, I mean, he said it was fine after he died, so he did give
Okay,
consent after he died. So
yeah. When does that come out again? We're
I don't, I don't know, but I don't think you could like go rent it or anything. I think that's like they're only doing like special screenings.
yeah, gotcha. Maybe we will one day. I'll make a pilgrimage to watch that movie. That's probably okay. It's probably all right.
That'll be our first road trip movie.
Exactly. Oh, speaking of Tarantino, I have this right down here. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, the novel.
Wait, you like Quentin Tarantino?
No, oh, I was gonna burn this later. It's on the banned book list. We don't touch it.
Okay, great.
Uh-huh. But anyway, that does wrap this episode up today. But Ryan, remind us, what are we covering on Thursday?
Oh, we're talking about Ricky O, and that is
Mhm.
available over on the Internet Archive right now.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited to watch that one. And God, yeah. And if you want to recommend, I felt like I just stalled out for a second. And And if you want to recommend us a movie or you just have any opinions about the podcast, be sure to email us over at driveanddevilfeaturedpodcast@gmail.com. You can go over to X and tweet at us at DIDFpod. But until next time.
Until next time.